At my fiancé's celebration party, his young assistant got drunk. She staggered up to me and knocked over the mango juice in front of me. "You poisonous woman. Lincoln King is allergic to mangoes. Are you trying to kill him? Punish yourself with 3 glasses of wine. And I'll make Link forgive you." She was arrogant and rude. Yet she defended Link to the extreme. This made Link laugh. Link hugged her and said to me helplessly, "She's drunk. Don't take it to heart like a child. I'll have her apologize to you when she sobers up." But the assistant still wouldn't let it go. In his arms, she shouted that she wasn't drunk and insisted on seeing me drink it with her own eyes. Finally, Link sighed. Susan Miller. Just drink 1 glass to humor her. Hearing Link's words, I thought he was crazy. I'm not a person with a good temper. But today is his celebration party. To secure the hitching project. He hadn't rested for over half a year. This victory was hard-won. I didn't want to cause a scene on this day. So I endured it when he brought his young assistant. I endured it when he was ambiguously close to the assistant in front of everyone. But now, to please the assistant, he wanted me, who is allergic to alcohol, to drink a pot of liquor. I couldn't endure it. And there was no reason to endure. Smash. The pot full of liquor was smashed by me on Link's head. The glass bottle shattered instantly, leaving a bright red wound on his smooth forehead. Blood and liquor mixed together and flowed down. "Ah, what are you doing?" Sharon Lee's drunkenness instantly vanished. She frantically tried to wipe the blood from Link's forehead but accidentally pressed the glass shards that had gotten into the wound. Link's face turned pale with pain. I ignored her and instead picked up a wet wipe, carefully wiping the liquor from my fingertips. Finally, I threw the wet wipe on Link. "You are my fiancé. You drink this cup for me." Link pursed his lips, letting the blood blur his vision. It seemed like he finally realized who I really am. The celebration party had already become ugly. Staying longer would be a joke. I picked up my bag and said, "Excuse me." But just as I turned around, Sharon stopped me. "You can't leave. You hit Link. I'm calling the police." She had no trace of drunkenness left, but that arrogance, inappropriate for the occasion, was still there. "Sharon, come here." Link's voice was low, with a hint of restraint. "She hit you. And that's it." I said, "Come here." Link clenched his fists. His voice squeezed through gritted teeth. Sharon then reluctantly stomped her foot, pointed at me, and said fiercely, "Even if you are his fiancé, so what? He is a person, not a pet you keep. You old hag. If I see you hitting him again, I slap." I lost my patience and slapped her hard across the face. "If you dare to point at me again, I'll cut off your fingers and feed them to the dogs." I've met Sharon, Lincoln King's assistant, a few times. She's young, beautiful, and full of vitality. When I first saw her, my friends joked around. "With such a beautiful woman by your fiancé's side, aren't you afraid he'll have a wandering eye?" At that time, I said I wasn't. I had confidence in Lincoln. We weren't just an ordinary engaged couple. In the business world, we advanced and retreated together, fought side by side. There were countless interests involved in this arranged marriage. As an illegitimate child abandoned by his family, he knew better than anyone that he had to cling to me and the Sue family like a life-saving tree. It wasn't so much that I wasn't afraid, but rather that he didn't dare. But I forgot about the weaknesses of men. Once they achieve a little success, they forget their roots. Those Mr. King calls made him forget who he was. It's okay, though, I'll remind him. Lincoln cupped Sharon's face. She was so scared by me that she couldn't speak, and tears rolled down one by one. I thought Lincoln must be distressed. The veins on his forehead were clearly visible. "Susan Miller, you've gone too far." I raised an eyebrow. "Gone too far? This is just the beginning." Henry Carter and Leo Brown, who were sitting next to me, saw that the show was about to end and stood up to mediate. "Hey, you two don't quarrel over outsiders. Yeah. It's making a laughingstock of you." They were mutual friends of Lincoln and me. They were also our childhood friends in a way. When I was 15, a villa area in Changshan was hyped up to sky-high prices. There was a saying at that time. Only those who lived in that villa area were the big shots who could shake the capital city with a stomp of their feet. All the top entrepreneurs in the capital flocked to that villa area. That's how we became neighbors. But although they were called childhood friends, no one wanted to see Lincoln make a fool of himself more than them. They could never accept that this illegitimate child could be on an equal footing with them. Now, although they were pretending to mediate, they actually wanted to fan the flames. Henry pleaded with me earnestly. Men. It's normal to have a confidant. If you're so jealous now, what will you do after you get married? Leo then persuaded Lincoln. You too. Don't you know Miss Zu's temper? Apologize to her quickly before she gets really angry. After all, without her, you wouldn't be where you are today. Lincoln pursed his lips, his eyes dark. Normally, Lincoln would just retort a few words, but he had been drinking. He not only got slapped by me but also watched helplessly as his beloved assistant was slapped by me. He just couldn't swallow this humiliation. He waved his hand and pointed at me manfully. Susan Miller. Apologize to Sharon. Or ill slap. I was about to slap. I slap. 3 slaps in a row made my palm burn. Looking at Lincoln King's swollen and red face, I smiled slightly. What else? Do you want to break off the engagement with me? Link was silent. Those 2 words. Break off the engagement. He didn't dare say lightly. While Link hesitated, Sharon Lee made the decision for him. Break off the engagement then. You're just looking down on Link's status as an illegitimate child. Aren't you? I tell you, nobility isn't born. It's made. Who says an illegitimate child can't achieve great things? As her words fell, the entire banquet hall fell into a deathly silence. Although Link was only brought home at the age of 13, the King family didn't make a big deal of it, just claiming he was their youngest son to the public. So apart from a few of us insiders, many didn't know he was illegitimate. This celebration wasn't just for friends and confidants to show off. Link had invited plenty of business rivals with whom he had conflicts. Now, thanks to her, his illegitimate status was announced to the world. Watching the scrutinizing looks from those around, Link's face darkened with fury. I couldn't help but laugh out loud. God knows where he found such an incompetent teammate. Sharon flushed crimson. This time, she played it smart, hiding behind Link as she taunted me. Don't think I don't know you and Link are only in a business marriage, with no real feelings. Have you ever truly cared about him? Where were you when he was lonely? Where were you when he was heartbroken? Do you even know that during his hard times, I was the one by his side helping him through it all? Staring at her impassioned face, I couldn't understand why enduring hard times with Link was something to brag about. But since they were so eager for hardship, I'd grant their wish. They'd have endless hard times ahead. I pushed aside Henry Carter, who was blocking me, and under everyone's expectant gaze, pronounced Link's fate. Break off the engagement. Link. Project collapse. Stock prices plunging. Thomas Wilson's disappointment and abandonment. Returning to those days of being ignored. This is the suffering you, an ungrateful illegitimate child, deserve to enjoy. After leaving the hotel, I headed straight to the company. The top floor of Sue Corporation's office was brightly lit. I sat in the main seat, listening to my secretary's report. Susan, if we release the scandal about the Lin Group now, we have an 80% chance of getting Hetching's client to switch partners. The Hetching project had been in preparation for 3 years, initially brokered by me for the Lin Group. Back then, I'd just taken over Sue Corporation and didn't dare bite off such a huge project. Link was much better suited for it. If it succeeded, everyone won. If it failed, he'd be ruined, and I'd have little loss. But now it was different. I was firmly in charge of Sue Corporation, bold enough to tackle any massive project. Business has no morals. The tactic of burning bridges after crossing the river wasn't exclusive to him. In just half an hour, the detective dug up everything about Link and Sharon. Sharon came from a poor family, dropped out of high school, and worked as a nursing aide at a hospital. A year ago, Link's biological mother was transferred to the hospital where Sharon worked for chemotherapy, and Link often visited her privately. That's how they got to know each other. Back and forth. Lincoln King's mother had terminal stomach cancer, and her condition was not optimistic. During that time, his mood was always low. I understood and helped him withstand the pressure from the King family, allowing him to spend his mother's final days with her. But it was during those days that the two of them got together. Link had kept it well hidden. Before the hitching project was almost certain, he didn't dare bring it out into the open. I don't know if he felt more confident in dealing with me or thought he had the power to manipulate me. But I knew he would regret this decision forever. The news of the cancelled engagement was released. Half an hour later, Link's affair with his assistant and his illegitimate child's identity were also exposed. PR quickly went into action, instantly dominating all major media outlets. These days, the idea that true love is innocent isn't popular anymore. An overwhelming flood of abuse poured into the King family's official blog, and public opinion was largely one-sided. I sat in my office, monitoring the King family's stock. The night was long, and I wasn't in a hurry. Plenty of people were more anxious than me tonight. The first to come knocking was my father. Our last meeting was 6 months ago. He had recently taken up with a mistress younger than me. His already not too bright mind, tangled up by a young woman, had completely lost the ability to tell right from wrong. Susan Miller, what kind of foolishness are you up to now? He stormed into my office and questioned me without a word. I took a sip of coffee, dismissed the secretaries from the office, and then looked at him. Dad, this isn't foolishness. I'm canceling the engagement to secure the greatest benefit for the Miller family with the least loss. Bullshit. He slammed his palm on the desk, the dull thud echoing through the office. This wasn't the first time Head accused me of acting foolishly. When I pushed through bold reforms, he questioned me, called it foolishness, and slapped me. When I fired the parasites in the company, he questioned me, called it foolishness, and trashed my entire office. Now here he was again. What do you mean securing the greatest benefit with the least loss? Susan, don't think running the company for a few days makes you an expert. The business world isn't what you imagine. And that's not how things work in the real world. Immediately retract all the news and come with me to apologize to the King family. Thomas Wilson has already called me several times. And your brother graduated. I'm putting him in the company to keep an eye on you. This company can't be left to your reckless antics any longer. I calmly looked at him. I'm an only child. What brother? Bang. The coffee cup on the desk was hurled against the wall by my father. Ceramic shards scattered everywhere. He pointed at me and roared. Do you even see me as your father anymore? I propped my chin on my hand, stared into his eyes, and asked the question burning in my heart. Are you sending me to the King family for the company or for your mistress? My father's hand hung in midair, his face showing rare embarrassment and shame. Link was clever. He knew I was hard to manipulate, so he targeted those around me. 6 months ago, he pulled strings and introduced his own cousin to my father. The temptation of a young, beautiful body was too much for even an old playboy like him to resist. Her pillow talk carried more weight than that of his own daughter. Seeing my father stay silent, I called my secretary. Take people to Villa 16 at Gingshan now and evict whoever's inside. Yes. The secretary replied quickly. My father widened his eyes, his face filled with disbelief. What you're doing is illegal. Susan Miller smiled. Dad, have you forgotten? Everything you own is under my name. 5 years ago, a critical project at the company collapsed. The funding chain broke, and the Miller family was on the brink of bankruptcy. As the empire crumbled, everyone scrambled to protect themselves. That year, I was only 22. He tricked me into returning from abroad. And with no clear understanding of the situation, I was forced to take over the Miller family's mess. Meanwhile, he liquidated his assets and fled overseas with his mistress and illegitimate child. He called me back to be the scapegoat. But unexpectedly, the Miller family survived under my leadership. Now, whether it's the company, the cars, or the properties, none of it has even a penny's connection to him. My father came to confront me, full of accusations, but left crestfallen. Not long after, Susan received a call from Lincoln King. He must have already spoken with my father and fully understood my stance. Over the phone, his voice sounded unusually weary. He asked me, "Susan, can't we just part on good terms?" I lit a cigarette, watching the wispy smoke drift without speaking. I knew Lincoln King well. He was ambitious yet insecure. For the first 20 years of his life, the weight of being an illegitimate child had bent him over. After meeting me, he gradually straightened up, but the deep-seated inferiority etched in his bones never faded. As the cigarette nearly burned out, I finally spoke. "Hand over the Her City project, and I'll part on good terms with you." "Susan, you know how important this project is to me." "That's impossible." I didn't say another word and ended the call. People should repay kindness. Not only did he fail to repay me, but he also wanted to use me and then part amicably. The world doesn't work that way. I walked out of the office and gave my final orders to the secretaries. Launch a full-scale assault on the King family. The King family's scandals poured out like they were free. They trended on social media. Got taken down, only to resurface again. From minor issues like skimping on employee benefits to project accidents, tax problems, and even several wrongful death lawsuits. It wasn't just me. Many businesses with grudges against the King family joined in. Some of the news was so mixed it was hard to tell truth from lies. This battle raged until 8 in the morning. The moment employees started work, the King family's stock hit rock bottom. After achieving the desired outcome, I took a hot shower, changed clothes, and drove out of Jing City alone. When I returned to Jing City, it was half a month later. Lincoln King had been suspended the day after I left, and his father Thomas Wilson came back to take charge. Thomas Wilson still carried weight. After all, he was once a man who could make Jing City tremble with a single stomp. But this disaster was too massive. Public opinion was manageable, but the relentless waves of investigations wore him down. Still, he wasn't a greenhorn like Lincoln King. In his world, there were plenty of ways to solve problems. On the day I returned to Jing City, over a dozen Toyota Alfords were parked at the highway exit. My car had just gotten off the highway when it was stopped. Thomas Wilson himself opened the car door for me. Beside him, Lincoln King knelt on both knees, head bowed. "Susan, I brought this useless boy to apologize to you," Thomas said. Thomas Wilson came from the underworld and only went legitimate after marrying the eldest daughter of the Shin family. Dozens of bodyguards stood behind him, making it clear I wouldn't be allowed to leave unless I accepted the apology. Looking at the scene, I smiled faintly. "You flatter me, Mr. Wilson." Thomas gave Link a look. Link shuffled forward on his knees. His face was haggard, eyes bloodshot. "Susan, I truly know I was wrong. Please forgive me." I looked down at him, my voice detached. "Link, you'll never stand straight again in this life." Link froze, then roared as if ID struck a nerve. "Susan Miller, are you really so guiltless? During our time together, did you ever truly care about me?" "Yes, I cheated. That was my fault. But search your conscience, were you ever as understanding as Sharon?" "Sometimes. I'm really impressed by him. Even in this situation, he can still blame others." Link tried to stand. Thomas pressed down on his shoulder. He said to me, "Killing a person is as simple as beheading. Susan, enough is enough." His face, covered in thick, fleshy folds, wore a smile that didn't reach his eyes. We can die. But the Sioux Corporation will be buried with us. Hand over the hitching project. Wouldn't it be better for both families to win? First emotional blackmail. Then threats and bribes. The old fox's tactics were indeed well practiced. But I don't like playing by the usual rules. I tapped on the rear window. The door was pushed open from the inside. Thomas hadn't expected anyone else in my car and looked surprised as the door opened. But his surprise quickly turned to fright. Sharp high heels hit the ground with a dull thud. A tall woman stepped out. "Dad. Long time no see." Jessica Green greeted Thomas Wilson with a smile. Even Thomas, who had weathered countless storms, visibly flinched when he saw Jess. "Why are you back?" Jess laughed, her whole body shaking with mirth. "I'm here to clean up the mess your useless bastard made." I glanced at Jess. She was always crazy. But she seemed crazier than ever since stepping onto the capital's soil. Every family has its troubles. The King family had 2 volumes. One was Thomas Wilson, the ungrateful social climber. The second was Jess, the lunatic. Before Link came home, the eldest daughter of the King family was radiant and untouchable. Calling her the princess of the capital's elite circle wouldn't be an exaggeration. But after Link returned, Jess went completely mad. She set fire to the house Link lived in, smashed up several residences of Thomas mistresses, and stabbed Link 3 times. Those 3 stabs put Link in the ICU for a month before he pulled through. Thomas also used those 3 stabs to pressure Mrs. King, sending Jess abroad and letting Link take over the company. Jess terrified not only Link but Thomas too. This daughter was even more ruthless than he was. If she managed to return smoothly this time, neither he nor Link would have an easy time in the future. Thomas' voice softened as he tried to placate her. "You don't need to worry about the company. Go see your mother. Then head back to New Zealand." Jessica Green stopped smiling this time. Her eyes were like a demon crawling straight out of hell, scanning Thomas Wilson. "Old man, this isn't up to you to decide," she said. Tom's face twisted into the ugliest expression possible. All traces of his earlier composure toward me vanished. The fierce determination to fight me to mutual destruction had completely dissipated. He was terrified that if he slipped up even for a moment, his own biological daughter would destroy him. As for that worthless Lincoln King, he didn't even dare lift his head. Just as the awkwardness hung thick in the air, a taxi pulled up in front of us. Sharon Lee tumbled out in a frantic scramble. "What have you done to Link?" she demanded, seemingly caught off guard by Sharon's arrival. Link stared at her blankly. Sharon scanned the scene, gritted her teeth, and knelt down beside Link. "Miss Susan Miller, it's Link and I who wronged you. But you two never truly loved each other. If you're resentful, punish me instead." Watching this unfold, I was momentarily speechless. Love-struck fools really do pull off earth-shatteringly stupid things for the sake of love. Jess, however, was all enthusiasm. She crouched down cheerfully, meeting Sharon eye to eye with a smile. "So this must be my sister-in-law. Big sis came in a rush and didn't bring a gift for you. But next time I'll give you a big red envelope." Sharon, overwhelmed by the unexpected kindness, cautiously called out "Big sister." Jess patted her face approvingly, then turned to Tom and remarked matter-of-factly, "Your son really takes after you both scumbags who love cheating." The smile froze on Sharon's face, her voice trembling. She started, "Big sister, you slap," before she could finish. The sharp crack of a palm striking skin cut her off. A red mark bloomed instantly on Link's cheek. Jess blew on her palm and sneered. "What kind of trash dares to call me sister? Evil people always meet their match in the insane." Just as I was thoroughly enjoying the spectacle, my phone rang. It was my mom. I didn't answer. Jess glanced at my phone and advised, "Ms. Susan, when dealing with these old relics, I suggest you hit them hard." I shrugged, pulled open the car door, and got in. The old relic across from me was on the brink of exploding. But no one was stopping me now. Before leaving, I rolled down the window and said to Tom, "I've already signed the contract for the hitching project. If the King family wants in, it's not impossible. But it'll only deal with Jessica Green." Tom closed his eyes helplessly and forced out a good through clenched teeth. "A starved camel is still bigger than a horse. I never intended to wipe out the King family completely. After leaving the capital, I slipped away unnoticed to New Zealand to meet Jessica Green. I helped her return to the capital to seize power, and she gave me a 3% stake in the King family. This deal was a massive win-win for both of us." Back in Hitching, my mom had already called, asking me to come over for dinner. We didn't see each other often, but today was a special occasion, so I was willing to make the trip. In the hospital staff housing complex, the lights were blazing in the innermost two-story building, the best house in the entire compound. Back then, that self-righteous Michael Taylor refused to live in my mom's villa. In the end, my mom begged me, and I paid a higher price than buying a villa to secure this staff housing unit. The door opened, and my mom welcomed me warmly. "Susan, driving must have tired you out. Come on in," she said, placing a pair of fluffy slippers at my feet. Susan felt a bit embarrassed and said, "This is what I made for Kevin. He hasn't worn them yet." I didn't look at the slippers and just stepped inside. My mom gave me an awkward smile and said, "It doesn't matter if you don't want to change. Go wash your hands and have dinner." This small two-story building was less than 200 square meters in total. For my mom, a girl born with a silver spoon in her mouth, it was too small. But she lived here with great pleasure. I couldn't help but look around the house. There were small woolen cushions on the wooden chairs. The dining table was covered with a pure white tablecloth, and there was a bunch of brightly blooming roses on it. Everything here was blindingly happy. "Susan, try and see if Mom's cooking skills have declined," she said after I sat down. Then she put a piece of spare rib in my bowl. People's tastes change. I don't like this dish anymore, but I still ate it under her expectant gaze. The spare ribs were tasteless, and they weren't steamed long enough, so they were a bit tough to chew. After seeing me swallow it, my mom finally said the purpose of today. "Mike's new leader at the hospital has been giving him a hard time lately. Could you smooth things out for him? Also, can you stop the hospital from arranging night shifts for him? He's getting old, and his body can't take it." She said this with a smile on her face, and fine wrinkles appeared at the corners of her eyes. I didn't agree but asked her, "Anything else?" She pursed her lips, and there was a hint of flattery in her smile. "You know, Kevin is 30 this year and still single. Mike has always wanted Kevin to find a girl as excellent as you. The other day, he saw the news of your engagement being called off online and wanted to match you two up. But don't worry." I immediately rejected it. My voice turned extremely cold. And then, knowing her, if she had really rejected it, she wouldn't have told me. She continued, "But then I thought about it. And Mike makes sense. Mom knows you're strong-willed and don't want to find someone who can overpower you. Kevin has a good personality. If you two get together, you won't have any problems with your mother-in-law. After you get married and have a child in a few years, I'll take care of the baby. Isn't that perfect? Susan, Mom knows you're career-oriented, but a woman still needs to get married and have children. Look at how well I'm living now." I interrupted her. "Do you know that Kevin got a girl pregnant in college? And the girl came to the school to find him." My mom was stunned. "That was a long time ago. That girl was promiscuous. You can't blame it all on Kevin." I laughed. It had been a long time since I felt nauseous just hearing something. Such disgusting words actually came from my own mother's mouth. I was really fed up. I suddenly stood up and forcefully flipped the table. All the dishes on the table were knocked to the ground. Bang! "Oh, what are you doing?" My mom couldn't dodge in time, and the greasy soup splashed all over her. There was a thumping sound on the stairs. Mike and Kevin rushed down. Both of them were stunned looking at the mess on the ground. My mom's eyes welled up with tears. She rushed into Mike's arms and cried loudly. Mike! Why am I so unlucky to have such a daughter? Mike opened his mouth but closed it when he met my gaze. It was Kevin who wasn't afraid of death. He walked up to me and tried to persuade me earnestly. Susan, no matter what, you can't treat Mom like this. I was so angry that I laughed. Mom. Hearing my words, his pig-like face even showed a hint of shyness. Once you marry me in the future, Aunt Xin will be my mom. I'm just getting used to it in advance. Damn it. He really dared to have ideas about me. Bang. I picked up the cushion from the chair and threw it at his face. Get lost. I'm terrified of pig-headed idiots. He wasn't even worth dirtying my hands on. Seeing Kevin Scott get hit, my mom immediately got upset. She stopped crying weakly in Michael Taylor's arms and wanted to rush at me to hit me. Susan Miller, how could you hit Kevin? I don't have such a vicious daughter. Michael Taylor stopped her. Sheener. The child definitely didn't mean it. But she still can't hit Kevin. I haven't even said a harsh word to him all these years. And she hit him. Truly, a mother's love makes her strong but not strong for her own biological daughter. Strong for someone else's son. If she couldn't stand seeing Kevin get hit, then I'd make sure to hit him. I kicked Kevin in the stomach. Ah. Kevin sat down on the ground, clutching his stomach and wailing. A man weighing over 200 pounds. All flab. Couldn't even take one kick from me. My mom flew into a rage, broke free from Mike, charged at me, and raised her hand to strike. That slap never landed. I grabbed her wrist hard, staring at that shocked face. I grinned. Today is my birthday. Her expression shifted from disbelief to guilt, then to self-righteousness. I was too busy. I forgot. Before I could respond, she snapped. What about your birthday? Don't you know that day was the most painful of my life? How dare you bring it up? My parents had a business marriage with no real affection. Mike was her first love. My mom always said the time with my dad was the worst period of her life. She hated my dad and hated me. I never considered myself innocent. My whole life has been about making amends. When she wanted to be with her first love, I helped her counter my dad and signed a pact to never interfere. When her first love was unhappy at the hospital and wanted a promotion, allergic to alcohol, downed 3 shots of Baijiu to grease the wheels for him. Then came this 2-story house. I poured money and resources into it. Whatever she asked, I never complained. After all that, she could still act so self-righteous after spouting such vile words. Jessica Green was right. I should have been harsher. I released her hand and said coolly, since this day pains you, let all the pain stay here. When giving, I felt nothing, but reclaiming it made me realize how much there was: money, cars, resources, and this house, right in front of them. I called the hospital chairman. I'll provide that medical investment I mentioned, but on one condition. Send a crew to the staff quarters now and bulldoze the house given to Mike. My mom blinked, panicking completely. What did you say? I glanced at the shattered vase in the corner and smiled. I said I'm demolishing your home to plant roses. By the time I left the staff quarters, it was past midnight. The hospital moved fast. The contract and bulldozer arrived in under 30 minutes. After signing, I stood back and quietly admired my masterpiece. And my mother was crying her heart out beside me. This was the home she had meticulously built, her happiness and sanctuary. Strangely, I felt not a shred of sympathy, even a sense of relief. Michael Taylor's dismissal notice would arrive first thing tomorrow morning. There would be some compensation, but not much. My mother had never held a job, so naturally, she had no income. All her cards were frozen. If she loved him so much, let her live off that love from now on. Our mother-daughter bond ended here, after being away on business for half a month. There was a lot to catch up on. I was busy as a bee, yet someone had to push my buttons at the worst possible time. My father showed up with his illegitimate son. This time, He didn't demand I apologize to Lincoln King. He wanted me to hand over the company to his bastard son. After all, you're just a girl. Once you marry, will this company still bear the Miller name? Susan Miller. Step aside and support your brother. To the public, just say he's our youngest son. After he spoke, I wondered if I was hallucinating. The script felt all too familiar. It was hard not to suspect Thomas Wilson was pulling strings behind the scenes. But none of that mattered anymore. One after another, they'd had their fill of easy days and were begging for a taste of hell. I looked up at the father and son pair. I told you, I'm an only child. I have no brother. Do you get what I mean? My father paused. Do you want your brother to die? I smiled. Not impossible. I'm not as ruthless as Jessica Green. I couldn't stab him 3 times like that. But I'm more capable than Jess was back then. There are plenty of ways to make someone's life unbearable. I'll use scientific methods to ensure they never show their faces around me again. The more you lack something, the harder you chase it. That phrase fit me perfectly. My parents' love had been my lifelong obsession. Now that obsession was gone for good. I could accept my family and romantic life being a mess. But my career and future had to shine bright. Thomas Wilson sent people to dig up dirt on my father. But it soon fizzled out because he was in hot water himself. Jessica Green and her mother teamed up with old allies from the Shin family and shareholders to seize control. Tom finally realized, Ed, that mother and daughter hadn't been idle all these years. I've always been vindictive. And I couldn't miss this chance. All projects tied to the King family were halted at any cost until Jess took over. The Miller family's stance sent a clear signal. It fueled growing resentment against Tom within the King family. No one likes a social climber's rise to power. Women despised him for being heartless and ungrateful. Men resented not having the same opportunity. When you're on top, everyone flatters you. But one slip, and it's not just kicking you when you're down, it's far worse. Besides, Thomas Wilson had plenty of enemies. After acting arrogantly for so many years, he finally met his end at the hands of his own daughter. It's truly lamentable. During this period, the hitching project was fully implemented. Jessica Green and I signed the contract with the client. After signing the contract, Jess helped me organize a celebration banquet. Still at that hotel, in that private room, with all the usual things. Henry Carter and Leo Brown were smiling obsequiously beside me. Susan Miller. That's amazing. How did you manage to snatch this project? TSK. What snatch? This project was always Susan's. Just the other day when I went home, my old man told me to hang out more with Susan. I took a sip of mango juice, ignoring the flattery from the two. In just a short month, Lincoln King had already lost the right to sit at this table. Everything I said back then has now all come true. Even worse. Midway through the celebration banquet, Jess arrived fashionably late. Henry and Leo scattered like mice seeing a cat. Jess sat beside me and suddenly laughed. When Thomas Wilson gave me this name, he probably wanted me to be quiet and pleasant. I turned my head and also smiled. The shoe in my name is probably the comfort kind. We exchanged a knowing smile. When we were born, no one would have thought that us girls would fight for power and gain both fame and fortune. She raised her glass. Congratulations, Susan Miller. I also raised my glass and drank the celebratory toast. Ride the wind together. Mutual congratulations.